tell you that. And that's a fact, baby. Now you gonna pick some lyrics like this. Come on.
Walk a fine chalk line and put the needle to the grind. Representing one kind, see an eye for the blind. Witness what I carry on bears a further purpose. From how we do slam a few, then you wanna purchase a dialogue of funk. You love to pop it in your trunk. I win more discipline than a Shaolin monk. Pete Rock and CL, well set to spark it. The powerful target to destroy the black market. But when you say black, listen, I don't know, you lose me. I guess another beggar can't afford to be choosy. I come to the maximum, artist on the major label. Any duplication of this one is fatal. On 125, I gotta hit your live, beat your ass with my tape, any race or shape. Cause if they got mine, they got yours too. But together, here's what we gotta do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Saul Miranda. I am the Program Services Coordinator for the Dream Center. I welcome you today to Latino Thought Makers with our special guest, Alex Meneses, hosted by Rick Najera. But before we begin, I want to congratulate all Cañada College students for completing this academic year. As we know, it was a struggle. Learning online, even for myself, when I did it as a community college student, it was difficult. So I can only imagine everyone going through it together online. But you completed it. You got through it. This is great. Students who are graduating, I wish you good health and many blessings coming your way during this challenging times. Remember this. When your body gets tired, let your heart do the rest. Establish good habits that will support your goals. For students who decided to take a break or will be continuing their academic career at Cañada College, just know that Cañada College is here for you. We are ready to support you with your academic goals and your personal goals. We are one email, phone call, or text message away. Feel free to contact me. The Dream Center will continue to serve during the summer. My contact information will be on the chat later on. And to move forward, huge shout out to the Cañada College community for providing unconditional support to our students and to the Dream Center through this academic year. The Dreamers Task Force, the Dreamers Club, the District Dream Centers, FIRE, Fighting for Immigrant Rights and Equity, our many partners, and to continue the San Mateo County Undocu Support Group, and more. You have all been trailblazers through this academic year, and I am grateful for your support to the Dream Center. Gracias a todos. It has been a pleasure serving our undocumented students alongside of you all. Just want to share some highlights because we do have events coming up for our undocumented students, the community. The Dream Centers have collaborated to make an event coming next week, which is called Jeopardy Nights. It will be on Tuesday, May 11th. 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. To register is tinyurl.com, sorry, /fire Jeopardy. This information will be in the chat later on as well. And we also have we have another event. It's in the tip of my mind. The immigration updates, which is going to be on May 12th. That's going to be from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And the registration is tinyurl /updates. And that is also going to be in the chat, including with a flyer. And then to top it off, we have immigration, give me a second. Our migration celebration, which is happening on May 29th, 2021. And that's going to be happening, at that date, sorry. Our registration is tinyurl MC interest 2021. Also will be in the chat very soon. To move forward, with changes in immigration policy, I encourage you all to check out our free legal clinic. If you don't have an attorney already, this would be a great beginning to finding out where you're at with your immigration status, or just find out a pathway. So I encourage you to check out our free legal clinic. Please register. It's on Wednesdays, every Wednesday up until the end of this end of May. Every Wednesday from 10 o'clock a.m. to 1 p.m. Our registration website is tinyurl.com/can legal clinic. So please go on to that website to make an appointment, or feel free to contact me as well. I'm happy to support. Um, Thank you. It has been a wonderful year. And now to move forward. Without further ado, it brings me great joy to introduce our next speaker, Cañada College President, Dr. Jamila Moore. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for all the great work that you are doing with the Dream Center and for our students here at Cañada College. Well, I am so excited today because this is our fourth in a series of Latino Thought Makers. And I want to thank all of you who have been with us from the beginning. We started out in September, I believe, with our first one. And so we are so excited that you are here again in the room with us to learn more information about Latino Thought Makers and their series and all of the great work that's happening in Hollywood, outside of Hollywood. Also, the importance of social justice and equity as we support many students as well as individuals in the community who need to be seen and need to be heard. Also, just want to continue to thank Cañada College for always suiting up and showing up in support of the events that support our students and support our community. Once again, thanks to the Dream Center for being a co-sponsor with us in this event. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce Rick Nahara and the Latino Thought Makers series. And I do believe that John Winchester has a wonderful reel for us, and we're going to have a wonderful show. So please take it away. Thank you.
We have a chance to really say something different that no one's ever said before.
You're in for an evening of great conversation. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Rick Nahara.
This is a program started by people of color, reaching across the board, talking to people, and starting Latino Thought Makers. Because what this is our community meeting.
Mainstream media thinks that we're all one person, and we're not. We're very diverse, and we come in all shapes and colors and all ideas, and we each have a brain of our own.
Latino Thought Makers are important because it's a live setting, and you can see the process that they went through to arrive at the creation of their art, and now they're imparting that to you. And it's an empowering thing.
This is our Latino living room, basically. And in this living room, we're all friends and family, and we're gonna have a discussion tonight. And I wanna show Latinos that we are always the solution, you're never the problem.
Unless we experience each other's journey, we will never know how to truly love and respect each other.
And a lot of times you see us in the media, we're portrayed one way, but I know how we are. And we should recognize what Latinos have done for this community and for all America. Latino Thought Makers, get inspired. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Thank you, Saul, and the great work being done at the Dream Center. Latino Thought Makers really started because we believe at Latino Thought Makers that Latinos are the solution, not the problem. And what we like to do is show leadership. And some of the people we bring on the show are actually leaders in their field. And one of them is, of course, Alex Meneses, an amazing actress. And not to mention just this chance to speak to her and talk about her journey, where it's been. But we're also going to have an opportunity later to join us at Haku, where we'll be hosting Dr. Cornel West But now to introduce an incredible, talented actress and a philanthropist, a friend, and has had a successful career on stage and screen. My friend, take a look at this clip of Alex Meneses.
Growing up, we were the Olsen twins of the novella world. And then we were both up for the same part in a movie. Isabella got it, of course. And I was a bit of a sore loser. Oh, you would have brought so much more to the role. And I don't mean that as a fat joke. She was a half-pound more than me when we were born. Oh, stop! I'm just so glad we're finally moving past this. I thought I lost my sister forever. You don't know how much this means to me. Look at me crying like my housekeeper when I yelled at her for using the good bathroom. I have to get cleaned up. I'm shooting a scene where I wake from a coma, but when I bolt up, I hit my head and I fall back into a coma.
Don't talk about it, just be about it. I see you running, circles around it. I'm always winning, I'm always shining. Only the best. We make it.
Oh, this was real.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Everybody Loves Raymond, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, Alma Award winner, American Comedy Award for Friends, you name it, the Cleveland Show. She was at the Geffen Playhouse starring in Odd Couple. She works at the Children's Hospital doing philanthropic work. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Alex Meneses.
Hi.
Alex.
Hi, Beck. How are you? I didn't know you used that telenovela clip. That's funny. I like that. Oh, just hope you're enjoying it.
Well,
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Mayo. Or Drinko de Mayo, as my people also call it. So you've been doing more work than I think anyone, but that's true of us Mexicans. We tend to work a lot.
Yeah,
But-
don't complain. Good for half.
No, it's great. And you keep doing great work. And I love your sense of comedy and what you've done from theater to film and TV. And I think a lot of people want to know what was one of the inspirations that really inspired you to do what you do?
Oh, I would have to say my father, probably. His work ethic and the fact that he never saw color. It's both my parents. My mom was this American girl and she married my dad, who was from Mexico. And this is so strange, Rick. I don't think I ever told you this, that part of my family in Chicago, we never saw them. And I never thought of it. My mom was like, oh, we just don't see them. But I found out in the last years of my mom's life that they disowned her.
Why?
Because she married a Mexican guy. She married the best man I know in the world.
Wow.
But can you believe that? Isn't that nuts?
It's always surprising to me because I think Latinos, once you know us, you can never hate us. I mean, it's like we're great people, great food, great history, great tradition. And we're kind, hardworking. I mean, we are what makes America great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like all immigrants, and so my parents actually were a great inspiration to me because they were all about love and hard work. And, I have to say it, even though it's a cliche, Rita Moreno, when I saw her on West Side Story, I was like, wow. I want to be that. I want to do that. I want to be that. And when I was little too, I was like, why is Natalie Wood playing Maria? She's not Latina. Why is she playing that part?
So you knew that right then she wasn't Latina.
It bothered me then. I was little. I thought it was.
Yeah, it's like for me, with my guy, I had to say was Desi Arnaz. I mean, I'd watch Desi as a kid and it'd be like, Lucy, I'm home. And I would hear that and I would just go, this is the guys that I grew up with. They had accents. They were fun. They really were were hardworking guys. I mean, I grew up in San Diego. My father, sheet metal worker, my mom, a waitress, and they would work 5 different jobs. They were never without a job. I remember that growing up, is that our sense as Latinos of a work ethic, of working, always working, you know, we kind of look at it this way. I think it's you and I both grew up with working class people. And I think a lot of times when I do the show, you know, people are always like, oh, these people are extraordinary. But every time I interview anyone, especially Latinos, we come from working class people. And I think we do extraordinary things, but we're ordinary. And that's the bigger lesson, that ordinary people can do extraordinary things.
Absolutely. And that's where the strength comes from to keep going. I mean, you know, we come from good stock, right? And I just keep going.
Oh, you're constantly working. And also you do great philanthropic work with the Children's Hospital. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. I got involved with Children's Hospital about 15 years ago, maybe more, as a volunteer, a cuddler. I had to cuddle babies. It's part of their therapy, because Children's Hospital believes that touch is very, very important, and it is. If someone touches you, you know it. Maybe you don't like it or you like it, but you can really feel it, and a baby needs that.
Yeah.
For get better. So I would cuddle babies, and then I did an episode of the Brothers Garcia for Nickelodeon there, and we were shooting all day. And I remember thinking, I was afraid to do it. I'll be honest. I was afraid that I would see sick babies and lose it. And I remember thinking that I didn't hear any babies crying.
Yeah.
I thought that was odd. But the way Children's Hospital works with Eastern and Western medicine, with regular medicine, chemical medicine, but also like, for instance, each floor of the hospital has a room that is a playroom, and it's appropriate. And when doctors go in there, they can't wear their doctor coats. So they're just normal people. And in the playroom, they'll explain to children on dolls, okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to lay down. There's going to be a bright light above you, but don't get scared. Okay. And they show it on a doll. And then we're going to put we're going to rub here and put a needle in here, and it's just going to hurt for a second. And, you know, they explain everything to the kids, and they make them feel comfortable. And I loved it. And then when I got married to my ex-husband,
yes, those are the things about growing up in life.
They asked me to be on the board of trustees. And so then I just became, I was hitting everybody up for money, and I was a shark about it. And so that was it. And I give tours of the hospital, have you ever taken a tour? Have I given you a tour?
Oh, I want to tour the hospital. I would love one.
Let's do it. I will give you, your life will change.
Yeah.
Your life.
Well, I mean, I think I had a big medical problem that happened to me years ago, which we call a medical opportunity, a health opportunity. But once you go through that, you inherently develop compassion, because you look at other people and you go, that was me. I was in a hospital bed, and I was in a wheelchair and all that sort of work. And I think that's also the hallmark of you as an actress. You've always been a compassionate actress. You're very good about seeing others and feeling their pain and wanting to do something about it. That's why I love your activism. And I think that's another thing I think students need to know is that career is one thing, but you can't have a career until you have a life. And
I think it's true.
Yeah. And your activism is great.
What I really love about the younger generation now is that they seem to be much more conscientious than, say, I don't know, I was growing up. I mean, the protesting and standing up for rights and, voicing opinions. I mean, and doing what's right.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. I really applaud it. And it makes me feel relieved, you know, that's why I started producing, because of what's happening in Hollywood, the lack of parts or substantial parts for Latinos, and the idea that parts are still so cliched and it's so boring to me. And that's why I want to produce. I want to
keep producing.
Yeah, and I want to show Latinos, and I'm doing a show right now with Mark Hansen, who does the Power series on Stars, and I'm playing Chaz Palminteri's wife, but I'm also playing the legal representation for the a basketball team that we own. Did they want to roll?
That's disorganized crime.
No,
disorganized crime? Is that the name of it?
It's not that. This is something brand new, Rick. Brand.
Wow. Fantastic. I'm hearing this right now. Right.
You are.
Very cool.
Very exciting.
Well, I'm gonna show a clip of you right now. Let's roll this clip.
Hey, Mom, I really wish you would have told me you were coming. I'm pretty swamped at work.
So, the two of you cohabiting is a recent development. Jasmine-scented fabric softener, not really your vibe, Mickey. It's you.
She has good taste.
His name is Trey, Mom.
I didn't think you had my books. You would like this one, Trey. Why avoidant personality disorders choose law enforcement. It's a very good case study about a young...
¿Estás divertiendo? ¿Por qué estás aquí, mamá?
Estoy bromeando. Él parece muy dulce.
¿Solo parece?
Sweet guy speaks Spanish. I'm trying to make an effort here. I'm sorry for dropping by unannounced, but I didn't know how you'd feel. It's been so long.
Wow. A lot of drama there. A lot of drama.
A lot of drama happens on Walker. There's a lot going on Walker.
Now it's the new Texas Walker. So how is that working with the cast?
They're fantastic. It's in Austin, and this is the first year that I have accepted work that's out of town. So I shoot in Austin. I'm going back actually in a few weeks. And I mean, Jared Padalecki and Lindsay Morgan and everyone in the cast, they're wonderful, you know, and especially Jared. You know how important it is for the guy at the top of the show to be a cool guy, because if they're a bit of a pickle, then everyone's sort of like, oh, we got to go to work today.
Yeah. It's that, you know. And also you talked something really interesting about the writers. You know how important it is to have, you know, Latino writers on the sets to tell our stories. I mean, I got a chance to work with you and Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman when I got to write an episode for you, which I thought was great. It was a wedding episode. It was a very beautiful thing with you and Carlos Gomez.
I loved it. And you have to remember that at the time, Carlos and I were dating. Oh my God, my ex-husbands, my ex-boyfriends. What is this? When I was some kind of slut. So you have to remember that we were dating, and he played my brother on the show.
Yeah. It was very, I mean, I think people don't realize Hollywood, especially with Latinos, is a very small group. It's a family. We all know each other. We've known each other for years. And of course we go through the ups and downs. Now you adopted a child. So talk about a cuddler. I see all your Instagrams about your child, and she's beautiful, of course. And she's from Russia. I think it's Russia, right?
No. She is from Texas.
Oh, from Texas. Oh, I didn't even know that.
I tried. I mean, I got pregnant a few times. I did a bunch of in vitro. I did 4 rounds, and I got pregnant twice, but it didn't happen. And I'm not a baby maker like you and Susie, just popping them out.
Yeah, three kids. Yeah.
But I wanted to adopt. I actually have always wanted to adopt my whole life. My father grew up in Mexico, and he grew up next to an orphanage, and he used to tell us stories about the orphanage.
Yeah.
And it was just always in my mind to adopt a baby. And Stella came into our lives, and
then the rest is history.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you're an incredible mother. You really are. I watch you all the time with Stella. You are one of the most nurturing people I know. You really are.
Wow. Thank you. By the way, when are you guys coming over?
Do tell us when, because last time, every time I go over here, it's always a great time. So we're neighbors. So whenever you want to, or whenever you give us that invitation, we're there. We'll
It's
bring
there.
our,
Over. Bring the
okay,
kids.
we'll
Cool.
definitely bring the kids. You're always great with the kids. So what's next for you?
Well, I'm doing another episode of Walker, which I'm really looking forward to. I love Lindsay Morgan, the girl who plays my daughter Mickey, and I love the fact that on Walker I play a psychiatrist. I play a psychiatrist who vets out the Rangers, and one of the really interesting dynamics between Adriana, my character, and Mickey, Lindsay's character, is that Mickey is a Ranger, and there's been a long history in Texas about Rangers and racism.
Yes.
And so
Not always a good story. You know, it's a pretty tough story with the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, really tough stuff. And so, you know, my character freaks out when she tells me she wants to be a Ranger. And yeah, that's where the drama is. A lot of drama, a lot of funny, and a lot of action in the, and a lot of fans for Jared. Oh my gosh, it's nuts.
How many? Like 5 million or something?
5 million followers on Instagram.
Wow, 5 million followers. Well, I mean, I think, you know, what's also been great about you is you've also worked in theater. And I think it's one of the bedrocks we do. You did The Odd Couple at the Geffen Playhouse. You were great.
I did Latino Logs.
Yes, you did Latino Logs, my show, and you were wonderful. That show's had more people in it. I think we've got over.
Everyone in Hollywood has been on it.
Yeah, I think Jesse Garcia was on it, and he just got cast in the new Cheetos thing for Ava Longoria. For the lead. So yeah, it keeps growing. Momo Rodriguez is on Mayans. He was on Latino Logs. It's been a good school. It's been a good school for people, but it was really started to be a showcase for others. And that's the part that makes me happy, is how many opportunities we're creating for Latinos and the Latinx community for to give them a chance. So one thing is, I know you were in the Cleveland show, you did animation, you've done everything, it seems to me. Is there something you'd like to tackle? Something other than what you've done now?
Well, I have produced a few things. I produced 2 documentaries, which I made no money on. I would like to produce something that makes money. I'd like to produce something that makes a lot of money. That's what I want to do next.
Yes. Well, I think
I loved my movies and I believed in them. And one of them was Australians Hit Hollywood, which everyone was thought about was about Australians, but it was actually about, and it was an immigrant story. About how Australians come all the way over here. They come a really long way. And they're great workers and they never complain. And they're fabulous. And, you know, so that was fun and I loved it. But I just want to produce something that is insanely stupid successful right now.
You're looking for a Power Rangers or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those shows that you go, it's I always wonder, what are the residuals in the Titanic, that film? You know, I want to know that, because I've met a few people on Titanic and it's a question you can't ask. I'm like, I had one time with Cheech Marin, he told me one of the residuals he got. He's like, Rick, I was broke. All of a sudden the Lion King residual came in the mail. He was like, it's like grab the log. And so I was in the water drowning and there was that residual check. So I think it's a lot of times people don't realize how, as artists, we have to live, you know, in such a way that it's constantly the grind of working and the ups and downs.
You're constantly putting yourself out there. You know, people are like, oh my gosh, I have a job interview. I'm like, I have a job interview all the time. You know?
Yeah, every day. I mean, literally, and they're looking at you and they're going, and it's hard for our egos because they're saying, nah, we don't want you. And that is never easy. But my father always told me a story and I remember it. He said, Rick, you have to knock on a lot of doors and you'll hear no, but when you knock on enough doors, you'll finally hear that one yes. And that has kept me always going, because there's moments where just today, I sent a script to someone to look at and I hadn't heard anything and I was feeling horribly depressed. And all of a sudden I get this script is amazing, on and on and on. And I'm like, how simple, 1 minute I'm terribly depressed, the next minute I'm super happy. And that is that up and down of being an artist.
Yeah, definitely a roller coaster. That's why what you said before is very important. You have to have a family. You have to have a life.
A life, yeah.
I think that's where people lose themselves, is they don't really enjoy their moments. You have to enjoy this moment that you have. What's your moment? What's my moment? I'm vaccinated. I live in the United States of America. I'm sitting in air conditioning right now on a very hot day. I'm so lucky. You have to really everything.
Yeah, it's gratitude. You're actually talking, which is everything. Is I look at it and I go, we have to remember that always. Be grateful what you have, the gratitude, and also serve others. I think of Saul and Dr. Moore and what Cañada College is about is education. This year I got my BA. I got my BA. Now I'm getting my master's. I'm only 1 year away from my master's.
That's fantastic. I want to do that. I started modeling and I left college and I'm like, God, I loved writing.
Yeah.
I loved it. I want to continue that. I want to do that too.
Well, I will give you all the advice in the world. Now, here's the other thing is comes from Rebecca Joshua. She's asking you a question.
Okay.
And she said, has your experience as a mixed race woman affected your role choices?
It hasn't affected my role choices. It's affected how Hollywood chooses me. Sometimes I'm too dark and too Latina. Sometimes I'm not Latina enough.
Yeah.
So it's not affected me. I think for me, it's a blessing. I would like to see everything as a blessing. Depending on hair, makeup, what I'm wearing, I can be more Latina. But it's been a blessing because I played an Italian girl in Everybody Loves Raymond. Here I am, a Mexican Ukrainian from Chicago, and I play a girl from Rome.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's also what acting is about. You, as an actor, as a human, we want to feel what other people feel. We want to be in the roles of other people. I think a lot of times Hollywood is taken, if you're Mexican, they've almost used it against us to say, well, then we've got this role for you. And a lot of times they weren't roles written by Latinos. And so therefore the roles we're playing stereotypes, and as an actor, you want to work. Here's from Rebecca as well. What has motivated you in your career? What would you say has motivated you in your career? It's a psychological question.
Right. Gosh, fear.
Yeah. That is an honest answer.
Of not eating.
Yeah. Hunger.
Mm-hmm. And just the need to express myself, especially when I was younger. I really felt the need to express myself because I came from a very traditional family and I was from a lot of kids. And when you come from a lot of kids, you sort of have your role,
Yeah.
I was the fixer in my house. There wasn't a lot of things broken, but I was the fixer and I had to be even keeled all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's always fighting, and I needed a way to express myself.
Yeah.
And so acting really helped me with that. Helped me find myself.
It's strange. Acting was the same thing for me. It really allowed me to use my imagination. It allowed me to think of other things. I think for people out there, and especially in the college, the education is acting as a base. If you know acting, then you can go into writing, and then you can go into directing, and then you can go into film or TV or business producing. But you have to find something you love, that you go, I love doing this. And it may not be, you may not be an actor for the rest of your life. You may turn around and be a writer, or you may, after acting a while, you may be a producer.
Right.
So I think it's education. And I think you going back to school is an example for other people, will inspire others. I know me going back to school inspired my children, because I literally was helping them with their homework. And I was like, really don't know this answer. And so I went back to school, and the first class I took was Chicano studies. And I learned so much in Chicano studies. And I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. And that's the thing, is when you go back to school, you have to humble yourself in a strange way and say, I want to be educated. And that's good. And I'm encouraging everyone, when we go out to colleges and talk, and I want them to see people like you, to see that education is a lifelong endeavor. It's a lifelong.
Absolutely is. My daughter said to me, "Mommy, I want to be an actress because you're just gonna go have fun. You just go play." I'm like, "Baby, I study now. I study more now than ever." Okay, I don't know. I'm getting all these calls. I hope they're not showing up on my.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're great. You're great. You're great.
You have to study. I tell her you have to study all the time. I study my script every night. I study all the time. When I go for auditions, I study. I have to know my shit.
Yeah. You have to know what you're talking about. No, it's true. It's like an actor, what's great about it is you're reading Shakespeare, you're reading, Chekhov, you're studying other cultures. You have to know all the cultures in the world. I'm great at trivia. I can beat anyone in trivia just because after growing up as an actor, you're reading a new role and a new script practically every day. So that's, hundreds and hundreds of pages a day sometimes. And you're learning about a new world. You can't do Shakespeare unless you study the Elizabethan history. That's what's great. If you would,
amateur.
Yeah, iambic pentameter. If you go back to school, what are you going to study?
I want to go back for writing.
Writing.
Screenwriting.
So proud of you. That is so amazing. Well, anytime you need help, I'd definitely be there for you.
Yeah, you're the guy I'm going to call.
Yeah, call me up. Because something, I'll tell you, if you want to be a screenwriter, and I tell this to different people, read screenplays. And you've read them. You've read hundreds of screenplays. So you already have that. So now it's a question of finding your own voice. So that's the best.
I have some big, I was in development with Eva and I did a lot of that writing for a half hour, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I have big stories about my grandparents, my grandfather in Mexico that I just need to, I have stuff all over the place, but I need to put it together with people saying things.
Yeah, dialogue. Action heading, then a New Mexico day, all these little things. Yeah, to me that's the easiest part. The hardest part is coming up with an original story. I mean, that is it. And if you've got original stories, that's all it is. And that's why I talk to students and I say, look, all the stories I hear from people, Saul talking about the Dreamers and the immigrant program, all those amazing stories that are out there that have not been told. We have just a treasure trove of Latino stories that have not been told or exposed. So I encourage you, please, we need you. We need a strong female writer, writing material. I'll always help you. But, a lot of times people wonder, and this is the thing, and I got to ask you, this comes from Loriele Bresler. So forgive me for messing up your name. Loriele Bresler. Have you ever felt imposter syndrome? Do you know what imposter syndrome is?
No.
It means being in an environment you didn't feel you fit into or deserved to be there. have you ever felt you were in an environment? Yeah, I think we all do. We all do.
And I think, and that's just me with my insecurities, I guess. But yeah, I have felt that, and I think it's okay. You know, I try not to be too hard on myself. Like, oh, don't feel that, and oh, come on, you know. I try to give myself a break. But yeah, I have.
Sure. I mean, I'll answer that too. Of course, I've felt imposter syndrome. I have a dyslexia. I have horrible ADHD, and I'm a writer. Figure how that happened. I can't see things to spell them, you know. But I would say this. My answer to that is, everyone feels it at one point or another, and in some ways, you have to be bad to be great. Once you get that in your head, I have to be bad to be great. I've seen Jerry Seinfeld on stage doing stand-up, and he was horrible. He was bombing horrible. And then one moment I saw him turn around and bring in a joke, and it worked. And I saw him dig himself out of that pit. I've seen, early works of Eugene O'Neill, where you read it and you go, oh, this is horrible. But that's part of the journey. Yeah, you have to do it. I mean, it's like, it's part of what makes you great as an artist is you have to feel failure. It's part of
the you have to not let it destroy you, and you just have to keep going.
Yes, you have to keep going. And that's the thing. And I would tell it to any students is that you're going to feel that. If you feel it, it means you're alive. If you feel it means you're alive. And if you're a live human being, everyone wants to watch that. They want to watch someone that actually turns around and says, listen, I'm having a bad day, you know, because you're always surprised. I talked to a very famous man from Harvard today. And for one moment, he just sat there and said, you know, my daughter got divorced and it kind of hurt me. And I was listening to him. And the whole conversation, I zeroed in on that. That's called someone actually showing their heart. And if you show your heart and you're vulnerable, that cannot be beat. And that's also being brave. So
That's right.
I think imposter syndrome, yes, it does happen. There's the one critic in your mind. It's for everyone, all us artists, that we're constantly hearing. And it means you're a good artist because we are inspired, and, you know, call it the universe, God, anything. And we know what it should be. And we know we may not get there, but the fact is we're inspired and we want to inspire others. And inspiration just means breath.
But I also believe in inspiring yourself. I believe in no stinky thinking. I believe that if you're thinking badly about yourself, that you should stop.
No.
You have a choice to wake up and be happy, or you have a choice to wake up and be miserable. I would choose to be happy.
Yeah, being happy they started an institute in India called the Happiness Institute. And a friend of mine is one of the people that are leading it. And I said, what an amazing thing. And they started it because of medical school. They had so many suicides.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was horrible. And I thought about that. What a great, you know, thing to talk about is happiness, finding that happiness. Is there a moment in your life that are the most difficult thing in your acting career you've had as a Latino that you've overcome?
A moment in my life?
As in your acting world where you have overcome that you can remember? So many.
I mean, a lot. I mean, that's just part of the game. It's just, once again, the judgment, you know, the superficial judgment. That's why when you go in, I think when you go into an audition or you go into a job, you have to go in with your best self. You have to go in with integrity, because no matter what anyone says about you, you need to feel good about what you did. So yeah, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too whatever. There can always be an excuse or a thing that I can have to overcome. So instead of trying to overcome it, I don't really see it like that. I see it like, well, that's just part of the biz. But I was good. I gave them my heart, and it wasn't what they saw, and that's okay. So
true. Well, I think it's also that it's very true. It's like I look at it and I go to an audition, I call people, it's a chance to perform. So it means if you give it your all to audition and you perform, and it may be that they say, it's not for us, but you got to perform. You got to have a performance, and that gratitude saying, I got to perform today. Now, I don't know if it leads to a job or it leads to career, whatever it leads to, but every day you have a chance to perform. So you take an audition and call it a performance. Audition sounds like you're looking for a job. But if you say, I got a job, I have to perform and be my best. And that's what you do. And that's what you've done all your career. I mean, I have to honestly tell you, I'm a fan just because you have a great heart. You love what you do, and you're a great person. That's the great thing. You're a whole person. You're not just an actress. You're everything else. And that's what I find about you is your humanity. If you were not acting, I have to ask you this question. If you were not acting, what would you be doing?
I think I would be a contractor. I would like to build houses. I love architecture and an interior designer, but I'd love to do it from the ground up. I would be a contractor.
That is very cool. You could have a great contracting show. You should do that. I would watch that show. Because you have great taste. I mean, your house is like one of those showcase houses. I would love to see.
Built another one. I built it from the ground up. You haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't. That's why I get. The other one was that Spanish colonial style, beautiful house with an incredible pool. So yeah, I want to see this next one, and I'll go out swimming. I'm definitely will be swimming. So, what do you do to help remain grounded?
Once again, I'm grateful every day for everything I have. I take the things that are important to me are simple things like my health, like my daughter's health, especially working at Children's Hospital and seeing children that are sick. My daughter has a fever, and well, you know, Rick, my daughter, and I wig out. I mean, I can't imagine. So the things
I was, yeah, it's like
grounded are everyday life and being grateful for being here and having what I have.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, that's the other thing about you. You have a family. You have a child. You have a life. That's what I think what people have to do is put, career will always be there, but your family and your life is the basis for your career. That's the foundation for what you build and what you want to do. And it's also wanting to do others for other people. That's what I see in you, your charity work. It's just not about you. I mean, the fact, and I did not even know this, that you started off as a cuddler is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. A child being held and
hard to do.
That hard to do. I know Edward James almost always says, if you teach a kid to read, you'll change their life. And and these are things that, as being able to look around and help others, that's really what acting is about in our chances as an artist. So I want to have another clip from you. This is from Texas, our Walker Texas Ranger. Let's check it out.
Okay.
Hey.
Hey.
What'd you get?
Case file. Bail just cleared. My mom should be out any minute.
I still don't understand how this got pinned on her.
Racial profiling, maybe? Mexican-American driving a fancy car? Look, all I know is ACLU is gonna have a field day when they hear about this.
Hey.
Mom, thank God.
You bailed me out. I've already called someone else. You shouldn't have come here, Mickey.
All right, I'm sorry. My mom's accused of a nonsense
Mickey,
crime.
stop.
I'm not. Look, I called some people. We'll get the press involved.
I told you to stop. No calls, no press. I will take care of this myself.
Wow. You don't want help. Why? Now I'm curious. Why don't you want help? What happened?
Because I did it.
Oh, okay. That's the reason. Right
Do it. You better watch the show, Ray.
I'm gonna watch the show. I'm gonna start watching the show actually. But first of all, I know it's gonna sound really weird. My family originally was from Chihuahua, Mexico, and they went to New Mexico. And I just did a film in New Mexico with Mario Lopez called Holiday in Santa Fe, which is it's really, really beautiful. But when I saw that hat, I said, that's New Mexico and Texas. Those are the places. You can only wear that hat in those places. I don't know. Somehow you stand out here. But
right.
That's great. What would you say now, looking at this work, being a psychologist in the show, do you have to really check out psychology? Has it helped you of researching psychology, or do you do that at all?
I didn't do it. I concentrated on what was presented to me in the script, which was more about my relationship with Mickey, more about confrontation and more about our challenges and our history. And so that was what was important to me, really, just our us connecting. And it's being a mommy.
Yeah.
And so that was huge for me. I think being a psychologist or psychiatrist in the show, that was sort of the way I carried myself for the audition.
Yeah.
And the way I spoke. Or the way I let Adriana speak.
Mm-hmm.
Are you no D's, them, and does.
Yeah. You were a mom, which you know how to do.
I'm an educated woman.
Educated woman.
Which I love. That's what I love about the writing on Walkers. They're breaking all these molds, and it's very, very cool.
Is your prep from acting on screen different than your acting on stage?
Well, it is, because on stage you're rehearsing every day. You rehearse every day for a month. So you discover so many things with the cast all the time. And for television, it's fast. So I work with my coach. I do a lot of the prep myself. It is different. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's continuity of remembering what I did in that scene to the next scene, as strange it is, and recreating it. That's because on stage, there's a certain sense of improv, you know,
Right.
if an actor throws this at you, but I always say the biggest difference between stage and screen is the close-up. And that allows you to feel, because on stage you're projecting, you have to do this whole thing, but on screen you've got the camera slowly going into your eyes,
and then he gets so close sometimes.
Yes,
Right.
exactly it's right there, and you can't you really can't the emotion has to be real in the moment right there. And I know it's the same as the stage, but for some reason now you have to recreate it after they say cut, let's try it again, or cut, let's move the light here, or cut, we've got this thing going on. That's the part of the concentration level of a film that's so much more.
Yeah, and that's where training came in. That was very helpful for me, because you know, you are in the middle of a crime scene and they're like, okay, wait, there's a truck, who's backing up that truck, you know, and the cuts, it's like, I've just been bawling my eyes out, and now you have to do it again.
Yeah,
So,
you're holding the body of your baby and you're crying, and all of a sudden cut. It's like okay, and you have to recreate it that moment.
yeah, so that's training.
Where would you say you got most of your training from?
Gosh, on set working. I mean, I studied at Lee Strasberg for 4 years and at Second City in Chicago, but it's nothing compared to once you get on set. You know, it's a great base, but once you get on set, it's a totally different world. You know, they don't have time. They don't have time.
No,
Better be on.
it's like you can't go there. You can't go there to learn. Yeah, I mean, you're learning, but the whole point is you're the least. I know it sounds really weird. A lot of times the actor is the least important person, because they're working on lights, they've got sound, they got all these different things that are working.
Whatever reason your hair is like this, they're like, look at her hair. Look at her hair. It's cut.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my guard dog. That was I don't know what just happened. But see, this is live. So what can we say? Is there a Latino artist you haven't worked with that you'd love to work with?
All of them. I still need to work with a lot. Rick Najera, do you know him?
Yes, I know Rick Najera, and he's a big fan of yours, so you'll definitely work with him. I will do my best to teach you everything I know about screenwriting.
Thank you.
Definitely, because I know we need our stories told by Latinos, and you know, and I think what's also great is, you know, my kids are Mexicans. They're half white and half Mexican, but that's also part of what Latino is. My grandfather had blue eyes, and he was from Chihuahua, and it's like German and Irish and the mixes that we are is really how great our culture is. We're going to be doing a show at Haku with Dr. Moore moderating it, with me and Cornell West, talking about how Latinos were the intersectionality. I'll be very educated right now. The intersectionality between Latinx community and African American community. People don't realize how many similarities we have. In fact, the first immigrants are people that came from Mexico to California. 60% were Black, mixed. So a lot of people didn't know that. From Mexico, yeah.
What part of Mexico? The Caribbean?
Some from Veracruz, some from different areas, Mexico City. But the whole point is they had a caste system and they would write down, you know, from Spain or from this or mulatto or half or stuff like that. So when you do the research of it, I did research. I just wrote a pilot about 1850 Los Angeles, and it's about a woman who's mixed. She's Black and Mexican, and you know the stuff she encounters and how different Spanish colonial law was compared to American law and where it came from. So Mexican women own businesses; they could change their name. This Mexican woman owns a bar called the Queen of Khalifa Bar, and she has this world. And it's 1850 when the takeover of California by the Americans happened. So there's all these different changes. And to me, that's a rich story. And I love historical stories.
Great story. My daughter's in 3rd grade and she's reading a book right now about Second World War and how Latinos were treated in California, and what was happening to the Japanese community.
Yes. Yeah. My father
Going to the camps, and in one of the chapters, the Mexican girls are going to their new school, and they're so excited, and the walls are painted, everything's clean, and there's flowers, and they're not allowed to enroll because they're Mexican. And this is in the 40s. They,
that was actually my family. It's called the Lemon Grove incident in Lemon Grove, California, where I'm from San Diego. Yeah, my cousins, they built a beautiful school for the Anglo kids, and then they put a school for the Mexican kids, which is basically a barn. And they said the Mexican kids now have to go to that school. And the Mexicans said, no, we're not going to that school, and actually said, we're not going. This incident went all the way, was the first incident of desegregation before even African Americans was started. So the Mexicans actually said, no, we're not going to do that. We want our children to be educated the same as the Anglo children. And that was in Lemon Grove, which was, to me, I grew up 10 miles from it. So you remember these stories, and they're still part of our history. And it's immediate. I mean, look, we had an immigration system recently was very right-wing and horrible, putting kids in cages and separating families. That's why, I look at guys like, that talk about, the Japanese internment. It's like we have our own internment. And that's the thing we have to always constantly be fighting against. And that's where education comes in. So I encourage you to continue your education and do that work, because there's an old saying, and I think it was a Russian author, maybe it was Gorky, he said basically this. Yeah, if you open a school door, you close a prison door. If you open a school door, you close a prison door.
That's brilliant. I love that. It's so true.
It's so true, because is how well we're educated depends on not only our future, but the collective future of America. It's they've proven studies where if you receive a degree, you will make more money in your lifetime. And if that's true, then that money is also our tax base. And not only do Latinos, pay for our Social Security from taxes they can't collect. In other words, they pay into the Social Security system, but they can't collect it. They keep Social Security alive. And so our people are constantly giving back to America and creating America that we all get to live in. So, like I say, Latinos are the solution, not the problem.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really, simple. The Latino Thought Makers were starting for that reason. And I love Cañada College and Dr. Moore and all the work they're doing. And I look at, Saul Miranda, what he's doing with the Dreamers. We have a young population. If we are educated, imagine all the things we can do. I mean, I grew up in La Mesa, California. There were two other Mexican families that lived near me. One was a guy named Juan Vargas, who's now a congressman. And the other one was Elena Ochoa, who's now was the first Mexican-American astronaut.
Neighborhood.
Yeah, it was an incredible neighborhood, but it wasn't really incredible. He lived on a chicken ranch. He was poor, an immigrant family. She was kind of middle class, living a couple blocks away from me. And her brother, Ty Ochoa, went to junior theater with me. So I think the pressure sometimes that are put on us creates amazing diamonds. It's like the pressure put on coal. So
yeah,
I think that's what's happened. I look into what you're doing and, your continued success in your career. You're an inspiration to a lot of people. And I think you just have to keep doing that. That inspiration is, to see a Latina. I would say if you want to be a leader, see a leader. You're a leader, and seeing you and seeing what you're doing in Hollywood and the world is great for all of us. And it makes me proud and happy. And it makes me point to you and say, this is one of our Latino thought makers. This is one of our Latino leaders.
Thank you for that. It's really important for me to leave Hollywood in a better spot than I found it.
Yeah, you have. I think that's the case. We all do. Our parents left us, gave us a chance, an opportunity. I think that's why when I see the immigrant children, sons and daughters of immigrants, how many times were they translating for their parents? How
Yeah.
many times were they the
Yeah.
ones setting the,
For her parents.
yeah, and that's what you do. So that group of children are so prepared for life. And that's the great legacy of what immigration has done for our country, of all immigrants. You know, all immigrants, the pressure put on them has made our country better. And that's what I continually see. So is there a plan now for what college you want to go to? Are you going to do, or how are you going to go about your education?
My brother's helping me actually,
Oh, what is he doing?
because we're getting my credits from Columbia, where I started, and seeing if I can still use them. I don't even know if they're relevant. You know,
Yes, you can. You still use them. I use mine. I went to Grossmont Community College in San Diego and San Diego State. And when I went back to school during the pandemic, I used all the credits from that, and they were accepted. And I went in, I used it. I went to Pierce College, and then I graduated from Cal Lutheran with a BA in communication. Then I'd done 2 years at ACT in the master's program. I went back to them and said, by the way, I got my BA. Finally, I can get my master's. And they said, great. Okay, now you can get your master's. I just have to do a show. So that will give me my master's degree.
Oh, cool.
So
Great.
yes, all your credits, many of them will go through. I doubt if anyone won't, because their education is education. It's not like something is, and you know, the classes you will take that will, you know, finish off your education. It's great to be back in school because you learn so much. Imagine me in a Chicano history class. The kids were much younger than me. They were looking at me like, did you really know Pancho Villa? And I'm like, no, I'm not that old. But they called me primary source. They called me the primary source. Like somehow I was there with Cortez. I mean, they saw me as that older.
Come on.
But, you know, but it was amazing. They would look at me and go, he knows, he was there. And I'm like, no, come on, I'm not that old. But in that humiliating moment, I actually learned a lot, and it turned into a pilot. So that's what I talk about education. It's so good. Now you've had some mentors in your life. How do you think mentorship has helped you in your career? What are some of the people who have supported you?
Oh, I would say Phil Rosenthal from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, what a great guy he is, you know.
He's wonderful, and he instilled so much confidence in me and my performances, and yeah, he somebody like that. It's really uplifting. It's really a wonderful experience. But other than that, I'm trying to think of like mentors.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the thing is you have to find those mentors. For me, it was Keenan Ivory Wayans. He gave me my first real writing.
Oh, right. In Living Color.
Yeah. And so he was a great mentor for me. It was tough on me. He would expect the best work from me. But sometimes you need people that ask you to be better than yourself. Is there any teacher you remember that made a big impact on you?
My fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Meisner. I loved her. I just loved her to death. She was just so wonderful and open, and I was one of the few dark kids in my class. And I remember my kindergarten teacher, I remember her saying, mentioning something about my darkness, and I thought that was it hurt. When I was like 5, I remember that. But Mrs. Meisner was such a wonderful, beautiful person. Yeah, my fourth grade teacher, Meisner.
I think, you know, one of the things that a lot of people can look at and say, like, for me, it was my teacher as well. You know, my teacher was my kindergarten teacher. You know, what happened is I'd actually been flunked from kindergarten, and I had dyslexia, and I couldn't read, and I was being a bad student. What was amazing was she took me aside and she said, let me work with you. And so she did. And I'm calling my daughter right now. Hang on a second, because I want her to hear this story. How am I doing? Are you guys able to see me? Okay, good. My kindergarten teacher took me aside and said, tell me your story. Tell me your story and I'll write it down for you. And so she took a book and used a cardboard piece of paper and she put cloth around it. And I told her a story about a boy that turned every color in the world. And they called him the colored boy. And he met me. And I said, I asked him, you're every color in the world. And he said, I'm every color in the world because where I come from, color is loved, color is appreciated. The more colors you have and the more different you are, the more you're honored. And I realized, I looked at the book actually a few years ago and I found it. And I realized I was the colored boy. I was the odd boy that, no one knew what to do with. I'd been flunked in school. So that was my teacher that really, changed my life. And that's the beauty of what teachers. So any of you students out there in education, you can change lives by teaching. You really can. So now let me ask you this. How did Chicago mold you? Because that's where you're from. That's a psychological question. For me, San Diego molded me because it was on the border. So in the border, I could literally saw Mexico 50 miles.
We're talking about me right now, Rich.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for the answer.
I'm a typical Midwestern girl. I don't know. It's just I'm a normal kid, I guess. I just go back to being a Midwestern girl because I think part of it is that it's cold. You can't control it. It's cold whether you like it or not. You don't like it, that's too bad. There's something stronger and bigger than you and you have to deal with it. So that's like having a pandemic, when you have to stay in the house from sort of, you're a little kid and you have to stay in the house from sort of November to April, March or April. It's sort of pandemic-ish.
Well, that's true. It's like you look at it and you go, you kind of go, it's like this, environment affects you. One of the things Absolutely. Yeah, it affects you because if you come from the Midwest, you come from a winter area. And I remember this because I tried to, they booked me for a show in St. Paul and they said, when would you like to come? And I said, February. And they stopped. What? They said, when do you want to come? I said, February works out great for me. And they're like, are you sure? And they said it like twice. Are you positive? And then I grew up in California, no weather at all. It was just all beautiful.
San Diego also.
Yeah, San Diego, the one the perfect weather. So I get on the plane and then I go into it and I'm going across the country. I'm looking at all the snow and I'm circling St. Paul to land. And I'm like, it looks like Alaska. It was the coldest place I'd ever been. And that's not knowing. If you grew up in the Midwest, you better have your dates correct. You better know when to plant your corn and when to harvest your corn. It's precise. That's why, Swiss watches are precise. Whereas you grow up in California, you're living this life of, I'm going to get orange. Yeah, it was like much easier. So I think it did mold you because it's molding, weather molds you, but also gives you an understanding. And I love this because when I looked at a role one time and I was at the Mark Taper, and it was a Chekhov play. And they said, Rick, what do you know about Chekhov? And I said, I know a lot about Chekhov. And they go, what do you mean? I go, Chekhov is Russia. Russia is long, wide open spaces. Mexico, wide open spaces. There's a city and there's a rural community and, an old church, the Russian Orthodox Church, the Mexican Catholic Church. So it's like, I find the similarities when I look at a role and a lot of times you can find them. Is that finding those similarities make us, who we are, and also the differences define who we are, and that's the unique thing. And what you've said about the imposter syndrome and the stuff you go through in Hollywood of dealing with people saying no constantly is an inspiration to me. Now I'm going to open this up.
They don't say no constantly, Rick.
No, I don't want to bring it. I don't want to say quite like that. Okay, they say no constantly, so I'm learning. You no, not so much. So I'm opening this up for any student out there who wants to send me a question. I can bring to Alex right now. Let's do it for the time we have.
Oh man, I haven't even been drinking it, and it's Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo. So there it is.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. Hi, everybody. I just want to chime in and say hi. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I'm going to get one of those as soon as I can, Alex. I want to thank you so much for being our last guest for this series with Cañada College. We appreciate it. I love having a strong, talented woman wrap our series. I'm very, very honored that you're here. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm honored too, because it's to me, I love to see women lead. And my mother was a very strong Mexican woman from the Midwest, from Iowa, of all places. And
Was she? I know that.
yeah, she was from Iowa. I grew up on corn on the cob, string beans, all wrapped in a flour tortilla. So I'd have that kind of Midwestern Iowa work ethic. I mean, my family came up on the rails, my mother's side of the family. So her father worked those snowy rails lines in Iowa. And her biggest memory was, she said she'd see him come in with his beard just frozen, always out working. But yeah, Midwestern too.
Woohoo! Yeah. So you and your mom and me were like.
Yes, that's why I relate. I think that's why I like Chicago.
So, that's why you like me. I remind you of your mom. But thank you. It was so wonderful to be here. And I love being a part of any kind of educational system. And La Cañada, you guys rock.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Saul. And thank you, Dr. Moore. And take it away.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Alex Meneses. You are just extraordinary. Please pronounce your last name for me again. I want to make sure I get it just right.
Meneses.
Meneses. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for just, letting us know, how you kind of made it. And I just have one more question for you, because I know you've been answering a lot of questions, but for our students is, if you are a college student in California, what would be your advice if they wanted to get into acting? Because, Hollywood is not that far away.
I would say do it. I think just go for it, no matter what we've been saying here about, this and Hollywood puts you in a mold or whatever. I would say do it. There are so many streaming capabilities right now. There is so much potential. There's so many places for shows to be put on the air. There's so much potential for so much work. I would say go out there and tackle it, because it's ripe.
Thank you for that.
We need the voices out there. And I tell the students the same thing, is that your story needs to be told, whether in acting, writing, directing, whatever it is. Tell your story. Tell your story and be proud of all the colors, shapes, and sizes you are and who you are. It's a brand new world. So go out, and especially after COVID.
It really is. And I'm inspired by all the young generation. I'm inspired by the kids nowadays. It's a beautiful thing. The world is shifting.
Yes. Well, you know what? Thank you, Alex Meneses. Thank you, Rick Nahara. This is the final Latino Thought Makers for this academic year. Thank you for, closing it out with a bang. And as Cindy and others said, thank you for letting us in with a strong female. We greatly appreciate that. Many of us do. And so just want to thank Cañada College for coming out and supporting us. Want to say congratulations to all of our graduates. We're closing out the academic year. Those of you who are transferring, getting your degrees and certificates, great job. Also want to do a shout out to our extraordinary staff and faculty for helping us to get to this point while we're still in a pandemic. But I want to encourage people to stay safe and to stay healthy. As Rick has mentioned before, I'll mention it again. We are taking the show on the road. We will be doing a Latino Thought Makers Haku series with Cornell West in October. But just thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you for closing it out for us for this year, Alex and everybody. Once again, stay safe, stay healthy. And
thank you
so
Thank
much.
you all. Thank you, Cañada. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Team Cañada.
Congratulations, graduates.
Congratulations
so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.